Have you ever wondered why a 10,000 Japanese yen note is worth about 5,600 Indian rupees? But not 50,000 or just 500. Who decides that 1 Indian rupee equals 3.5 Pakistani rupees? If money is just paper, why can't governments print unlimited notes and make everyone rich? Today, we'll uncover the shocking truth about money, and trust me, it's not what you think. This is a 10,000 Japanese yen note, whose value is around 5,600 Indian rupees. But who decides this? Who decides that it will be worth $183, or that 1 Indian rupee will be equal to 3.5 Pakistani rupees? Human civilization runs around many stories, and one of those stories is money. A TV, fridge, fruits, vegetables, all of these exist physically. But money does not physically exist. It is just a story in our minds, an imagination, a story that everyone has universally accepted, and a system created to assign value to things. But who gives money its value? Where did it begin? How is it decided that one country's currency will rise or fall? And the biggest question, can't we just print unlimited money to end poverty? In this video, we'll discuss many things about money. Stay tuned until the end, subscribe to the channel, and let's start the video. You must have seen street vendors carrying utensils on their backs. When they go house to house selling utensils, they don't accept money. Instead, they take old clothes in exchange. This legendary system is called the barter system, meaning one thing is exchanged for another. This system is very old. It is said that before humans built civilizations and kingdoms, they had already established the barter system. People exchanged one thing for another to live their lives. The concept was logical. One person went hunting, another made tools, another grew vegetables, another farmed. Everyone had something surplus which they could give in exchange for something they needed. Proof of this system can be found around 3000 BCE in the Mesopotamian civilization. There, huge temples were built where farmers deposited their grains, and in return, they were given a receipt. By showing this receipt, they could buy goods anywhere in the society. That receipt could be exchanged at the temple for an equivalent amount of grain. So, in Mesopotamia, grain worked like money. Grain was a commodity. Many different commodities were used as exchange. According to Aristotle, the need for money arose when societies had to interact and trade with other societies. A civilization needed a medium of exchange that was valuable to both sides. For example, grain might have value in Mesopotamia, but in another society that didn't eat grain, it was useless, so they couldn't use it to trade. Hence, there was a need for a universal medium of exchange. Gold and silver fulfilled that role. Gold and silver were exchanged for trading. They had intrinsic value. Even if you took them to the market, people would buy them in exchange for goods. Eventually, gold and silver were minted into coins, which started circulating as money. In fact, not just gold and silver, other valuable items like seashells, pearls, and gems were also used as money. This kind of money is called commodity money, where an object itself has intrinsic value and is used as money. As the world expanded and trade grew, a solution was found to replace commodity money. This was representative money. Instead of carrying large quantities of gold and silver, banks started issuing banknotes. Each note came with a promise. If you deposited it at any branch, you would get gold coins in return. For traders, this was easier, safer, and more practical than carrying actual gold. At first, people doubted this system, but gradually it became so well established that almost every country adopted it. Nationalized or central banks issued notes backed by gold. These notes came with a promise. If returned, the bank would give the equivalent in gold. This was the gold standard. For example, if the RBI wanted to print 100 notes, it first had to procure an equivalent amount of gold. Only then could those notes be issued, backed by the promise of gold. This system worked well, but the flaw was obvious. Gold is a limited commodity. Many countries had little or no gold reserves. Countries with lots of gold could print more currency, while others could not. This created inequality. During World War I, nations needed more money to revive their economies. But since gold was scarce, many countries delinked their currency from gold and instead pegged it to stronger currencies like the US dollar. In 1944, 44 countries signed the Bretton Woods Agreement. They agreed to unlink their currencies from gold and instead peg them to the US dollar at a fixed exchange rate. The US dollar itself was still linked to gold, so indirectly, all currencies were tied to gold. This made the US dollar the dominant global currency. Countries now had to procure US dollars to print their own notes. But in 1971, US President Richard Nixon shocked the world by delinking the US dollar from gold. He announced that the US would no longer give gold in exchange for dollars. Now, money had no backing from gold. Its only value was trust. The government's promise gave it value. This $1 note is worth $1 because you can buy $1 worth of goods in the market. Thus was born fiat money, currency not backed by any commodity but by government trust. Today, most currencies are free-floating. Their value is not fixed by governments but decided in the market, like shares in the stock market. If demand for rupees increases, its value rises. If demand for dollars increases, its value rises. But demand depends on many factors: a country's economy, political stability, and global trust in that currency. Strong, reliable countries have stronger currencies like the US dollar, British pound, euro, Japanese yen. Developing countries with unstable economies face weaker currencies. That's why when they trade internationally, partners prefer payment in US dollars or other stable currencies, not in their local currency. That's why you often hear about countries' foreign exchange reserves. If reserves are low, they can't import or trade effectively. For example, when Pakistan's reserves dropped to just 3 weeks' worth, it meant they could not trade beyond that. Now, to the common question, why can't governments just print unlimited money to eliminate poverty? Let's understand with an example. Suppose a small island nation has only 3 people. B, and C has 3, B has 2, C has 1. So the nation's total wealth is 6. The nation produces only 6 kilograms of rice each year. That means 1 kilogram of rice equals 1. Now the government prints another 6 and distributes it. A now has 6, B has 4, C has 2. But production remains the same, only 6 kilograms of rice. Now, 1 kilogram of rice costs 2. Prices doubled, but wealth did not increase. This is inflation. Real wealth comes from production, not printing more notes. If you print money without increasing production, the value of money falls. This happened in Zimbabwe in the 1990s. They printed unlimited notes, which led to hyperinflation. By 2009, one egg cost 1 billion Zimbabwean dollars. Hyperinflation can also happen if governments make bad investments, fail to manage their economies, or lose international trust. For example, Pakistan and Sri Lanka recently faced economic collapse, with Sri Lanka even declaring bankruptcy. Nations go bankrupt when they cannot manage debt and production. To survive, they need loans, and when they can't repay, lenders stop giving them money. So, printing money is not the solution. Production, stability, and trust are the real foundations of money. That's why, at the end of the day, money is just a story of trust. A 100 note is just a piece of paper. Its value lies only in the promise of the government and in people's collective belief that they can use it to buy goods worth 100.